Long ago, in a village nestled beside whispering bamboo groves, lived a man known as Master Li. His beard was as white as mountain snow, and his eyes twinkled like distant stars, holding countless stories and a wisdom that seemed to stretch back through time itself. Children often gathered at his feet, eager for a tale or a gentle lesson. Among his many students was a bright boy named Kai. Kai was always the first to arrive and the last to leave, his heart full of questions and a burning desire to understand the world. One sunny afternoon, as butterflies danced around fragrant blossoms, Kai approached Master Li with a serious look on his young face. "Master," he began, his voice earnest, "I want to be truly successful. I want to achieve great things and make a difference. But I don't know the secret. What is it? What hidden path must I take to find success?" Master Li smiled, a warm, knowing smile that reached his eyes. He motioned for Kai to sit beside him on a smooth, river-worn stone. The old man picked up a fallen leaf, turning it gently in his fingers. "Ah, Kai," he said softly, "the secret to success is not found on a hidden path, but often in plain sight, woven into the very fabric of life around us. Let me tell you a story, an ancient tale about strength and wisdom, and perhaps, within it, you will find the answer you seek." Kai leaned closer, his eyes wide with anticipation, ready to listen. Master Li's eyes, full of gentle wisdom, looked out towards the distant mountains as he began his tale. "Imagine, Kai," he started, his voice soft like the rustle of leaves, "a wild forest where two very different plants lived side by side. One was a grand, mighty oak tree. Its trunk was thick and strong, its branches spread wide like powerful arms, and its roots dug deep into the earth. It stood tall and proud, believing itself to be the king of the forest, unmoving and unbreakable." Kai pictured the giant tree, its green leaves catching the sun. Master Li continued, "Right next to this proud oak grew a tiny bamboo shoot. It was much smaller, thin and graceful, swaying gently with the lightest breeze. It looked so delicate next to the giant oak, almost like a whisper in comparison to a shout. But then, a terrible storm came to the forest. The sky turned dark, thunder boomed like angry drums, and the wind began to howl, pushing and pulling everything in its path with all its might." Kai listened closely, imagining the forest before the storm. He could almost feel the wind starting to pick up. The wind blew harder and harder, Master Li explained, tearing through the trees with incredible force. It was a storm like no other, testing every living thing in its path. The oak tree and the bamboo shoot, so different in every way, would both face this mighty challenge. As the storm raged, the mighty oak tree stood firm, its strong trunk refusing to bend even an inch. "I am the king of this forest," it seemed to roar against the wind. "I will not yield." It spread its huge branches wide, trying to push back against the invisible force. But the wind was relentless. It tore at the oak's leaves, ripping them away like tiny green flags. The oak's sturdy branches, which had once seemed so unbreakable, groaned and creaked under the strain. Kai imagined the big tree fighting with all its might. He could almost hear the snapping sounds. Master Li continued, "The oak tree used all its strength, pushing against the gale with all its might. It thought that by being stiff and unmoving, it could defeat the storm. But the wind did not care how strong the oak was. It just kept blowing, harder and harder. With a loud crack, one of the oak's thickest branches broke off and fell to the ground with a heavy thud. Then another, and another. The great oak, once so proud, began to look battered and torn. Its bark was stripped in places, and its roots, though deep, felt the terrible pull of the earth itself trying to give way. It swayed violently, not from bending, but from the sheer force threatening to rip it from the ground. It was close to falling, its reign as king of the forest nearly over. Kai's eyes were wide, picturing the struggle. The oak was so strong, yet it was losing. While the mighty oak fought against the storm with all its might, the little bamboo shoot behaved very differently. It did not try to stand firm or push back. Instead, as the fierce wind roared, the bamboo simply bent. It swayed low to the ground, bowing its slender stalk almost flat, letting the powerful gusts pass right over it. The bamboo did not fight the wind, Kai, Master Li explained, his voice gentle. It moved with it. When the wind pushed hard from one side, the bamboo leaned that way. When the wind changed, the bamboo changed too, gracefully swaying in the other direction. It looked weak, bending so low, but in truth, it was incredibly strong in a different way. Kai imagined the graceful dance of the bamboo, a stark contrast to the oak's battle. The bamboo's leaves, though thin, remained mostly attached, rustling softly as the wind rushed past them. It did not resist the force, but rather became one with it for a moment. Even when the storm was at its worst, ripping and tearing through the forest, the bamboo shoot remained safe. It was pushed and pulled, twisted and turned, but because it gave way, it did not break. It showed no cracks, no snapped branches, no signs of being torn apart. It simply waited, bending until the storm finally began to quiet. After a moment of silence, letting the picture of the storm settle in Kai's mind, Master Li turned his gaze back to the eager boy. Now, Kai, let us think about this mighty oak tree, he said, his voice thoughtful. The oak was very strong, yes. It was proud and stood firm. But in its strength, it also had a weakness. It refused to change. It refused to bend, even a little bit, when faced with such a powerful force. Kai nodded, remembering the broken branches. It tried to be too strong, Master? He asked, trying to understand. Exactly, Master Li replied. The oak tree is like some people in life. They are very set in their ways. They believe their way is the only way, and they hold onto their ideas and plans very tightly. When new problems or big changes come, like a storm, these people try to fight against them. They refuse to adjust or try something new. They think that if they just push harder, or stand stiffer, things will go back to how they were. Master Li sighed softly. But just like the oak, these people often find that being too stubborn, too unwilling to change, can lead to trouble. They might break, just like the oak's branches. They might become tired and hurt, or even fail completely, because they couldn't let go of their old ways, even for a moment. Kai listened intently, starting to see the deeper meaning in the old man's story. Master Li then shifted his gaze, inviting Kai to consider the other plant. Now, think of the small bamboo shoot, he continued, his voice lighter. It did not try to fight the storm. It did not try to be stronger than the wind. Instead, it bent. It moved with the wind, no matter how hard it blew. Because it was willing to be flexible, it did not break. When the storm passed, the bamboo simply stood back up, whole and unharmed, ready to sway in the gentle breeze once more. Kai's eyes lit up. So, the bamboo is strong because it knows how to bend? He asked, a new idea forming in his mind. Precisely, Kai, Master Li affirmed, his smile widening. The bamboo is like people who are wise enough to be flexible. When things get tough, when big changes or problems come, these people do not stubbornly hold onto one way. They look at the situation and ask, how can I adjust? How can I bend a little here, or move a different way there? They are not afraid to change their plans or try new ideas. They understand that sometimes, letting go of what you thought was the only path can save you from breaking. These flexible people, Master Li added, often find their way through hard times much better. They might not look as mighty as the oak at first, but in the end, they stay safe and strong. They learn from the storm, and when it's over, they are ready to grow even taller. Kai sat quietly for a long moment, the gentle breeze rustling the leaves above them. He thought about the strong oak, its broken branches, and the graceful bamboo, standing tall once more after the storm. He imagined the feeling of pushing against something too powerful, and then the feeling of letting go and moving with it. The story had painted a clear picture in his mind, but he needed to connect it to his own life. Finally, Kai looked up at Master Li, his brow furrowed in thought. Master, he said slowly, I understand the story now. The oak was too stubborn, and the bamboo was wise to bend. But what does this mean for me, a young student trying to learn? How do I become like the bamboo in my studies, or in facing the small problems of every day? He continued, sometimes I work very hard on something, and it feels like I'm pushing against a big wall. I try the same thing over and over, even when it doesn't work, because I think that's being strong. Is that being like the oak, Master? How do I know when to be strong like the oak, and when to be flexible like the bamboo? His questions tumbled out, eager for a clearer path. Master Li listened patiently, his eyes twinkling, clearly pleased that Kai was thinking so deeply about the lesson. Master Li nodded, his gaze gentle and understanding. Those are excellent questions, Kai, and they show you are truly thinking. Many people believe that to be successful, you must always be strong, always push forward, never give up. And yes, strength is important. But true success, the kind that lasts and helps you grow, is not just about being strong. It's also about being smart. He paused, letting his words sink in. It's about knowing when to stand firm, like the oak protecting its roots, and when to let go and bend, like the bamboo dancing with the wind. The secret, my young student, lies in wisdom. The wisdom to see the situation clearly and choose the best way to act. Sometimes, being strong means knowing when not to fight. Imagine trying to push a giant rock up a hill all by yourself, Master Li continued. You could be very strong, but if the rock is too heavy, you might just hurt yourself. A smart person might look for a lever, or ask for help, or even find a different path around the hill. That is bending. That is being like the bamboo. It's not giving up. It's finding a smarter way to reach your goal without breaking yourself. Kai's eyes widened, a flicker of understanding blooming within them. This was a deeper kind of strength than he had ever thought about. Master Li saw the understanding dawning in Kai's eyes. Let's think of a time when you were like the oak, Kai, he suggested gently. Do you remember last spring, when you were trying to build that small dam across the stream, near the old willow tree? Kai's face fell a little. Oh, yes, Master, he said, recalling the memory. I worked for hours. I piled up big stones, one on top of the other, to stop the water. But the water was too strong. It kept pushing against my stones, and no matter how many more I added, the dam kept breaking. In the end, I was wet and tired, and the water still flowed freely. I felt like a failure. And what did you do? Master Li asked, his voice soft. I kept trying to stack the stones higher and tighter, Kai admitted, looking down at his hands. I thought if I just worked harder, it would finally hold. I didn't think of anything else. I just pushed and pushed. Exactly, Master Li said kindly. You were like the oak tree, using all your strength to fight the force of the water head on. You were strong, yes, but you were not flexible in your thinking. You kept doing the same thing, hoping for a different result, even when it wasn't working. And what happened? It broke, Kai said, a touch of sadness in his voice. Over and over, I failed. He saw the connection clearly now. He had been like the stubborn oak. Now, imagine, Kai, Master Li began, his voice painting a new picture, if you had been like the bamboo shoot that day. The water was strong, yes, like the wind. Instead of pushing against it with more stones, what if you had tried to work with the water? Kai looked puzzled. Work with it, Master? How can you work with something that is trying to break your dam? Think, Master Li urged kindly. The bamboo bends. It lets the force pass by. Could you have let some of the water pass through, perhaps in a smaller, controlled way? What if you had built a small channel around your dam, or used smaller stones and mud to guide the water gently, instead of blocking it completely? Or perhaps, instead of a straight wall, a curved one that welcomed the water's push and sent it flowing around, rather than crashing against it? Kai's eyes widened. A channel. Or a curved wall, he whispered, picturing it. I never thought of that. I just wanted to stop it. Exactly, Master Li smiled. The bamboo does not try to stop the wind. it lets the wind guide its movement. In your dam building, you could have let the water guide your design. By being flexible, by changing your approach instead of stubbornly repeating the same one, you might have created a dam that worked, one that respected the water's power instead of fighting it. You would have used the water's strength, not let it break you. Kai nodded slowly, a new understanding blooming in his mind. The idea of working with a problem, rather than just against it, felt like a powerful secret indeed. Inspired by Master Li's wisdom, Kai decided to put the lesson of the bamboo into practice right away. He didn't wait for a big problem. He started with the small tasks of his day. One morning, he was trying to learn a new song on his flute. Usually, if a part was tricky, he would play it over and over, pushing harder, often getting frustrated. This time, he paused. How can I be like the bamboo? He wondered. Instead of just playing the hard part faster, he tried playing it much slower, listening to each note carefully. Then, he tried playing it backwards, just for fun, to see the notes in a new way. He even hummed the tune without his flute, imagining the sound. Another day, while practicing calligraphy, a brushstroke kept coming out crooked. Instead of pressing harder and getting angry, Kai took a deep breath. He remembered Master Li's words about bending. He tried holding the brush a different way, making lighter strokes, or even practicing the stroke on a separate piece of paper until he felt more comfortable. He wasn't fighting the brush or the ink, he was adjusting his own approach. These small changes felt strange at first, but Kai kept trying, eager to see what would happen. He was learning to be flexible not just with his hands, but with his mind. As Kai continued to try these new, flexible ways, something wonderful began to happen. The tricky flute melody, which had once felt like a tangled knot, slowly began to smooth out. Playing it slower helped him hear each note clearly, and humming it without the flute helped him feel the rhythm inside. Soon, he could play the whole song with a joyful tune, much faster than before, and with less frustration. With his calligraphy, the crooked brushstrokes became straighter and more graceful. By changing his grip or practicing on a different surface, he wasn't forcing the brush, he was guiding it. He noticed that when he allowed himself to try different paths, the solutions often appeared much sooner and with less struggle. It was like finding a secret shortcut through a dense forest. It's amazing, Master, Kai told Master Li one afternoon, his face beaming. When I stop trying to force things and instead try a new way, it's like the problem gets smaller. It doesn't fight me so hard. I learn faster, and it even feels more fun. He realized that the hard way he used to think was strong was actually making things harder. By being like the bamboo, things often became easier, and he felt a growing sense of calm and confidence in his ability to learn and solve problems. He was not only succeeding more often but also enjoying the journey. Master Li listened to Kai's excited words, his eyes crinkling at the corners with joy. He placed a gentle hand on Kai's shoulder. See, Kai, you have found it. You have discovered the true secret to success, not in my words, but in your own actions. He continued, you once thought strength meant never changing, always pushing. But you have learned that true strength, lasting strength, comes from within. It comes from your ability to adapt, to bend, to find new ways when the old ones no longer serve you. This is what we call wisdom, my boy. It is the wisdom to know when to be like the firm oak and when to be like the flexible bamboo. The world is always changing, Kai, Master Li explained, his voice soft but clear. Challenges will always come, like storms. If you are too stiff, you might break. But if you can adapt, if you can learn to flow with the changes and find new paths, then you will not only survive but truly thrive. This ability to adapt, to be flexible in your mind and your spirit, is the greatest tool you can ever have. It is the wellspring of true and lasting success. Kai felt a warmth spread through him, not just from the sun, but from the deep understanding blooming in his heart. Filled with this newfound understanding, Kai couldn't keep the secret to himself. The next day, during their morning lessons, he saw his friend Lena struggling with a tricky math problem. her brow furrowed in frustration. She kept trying to solve it the same way, getting the wrong answer each time. Lena, Kai said gently, remember Master Li's story about the oak and the bamboo? Lena looked up, a little surprised. Yes, but what does a tree have to do with numbers? Kai smiled. The oak tried to fight the wind, and it broke. The bamboo bent, and it stayed safe. Maybe you're being too much like the oak with this problem. Are you trying to push against it with the same method over and over? He then shared his own experiences with the flute and calligraphy, explaining how trying a different way, even a silly one, helped him find the answer. He suggested, perhaps you could draw the problem out, or try to solve it backwards, or even explain it to me as if I were a little child. Sometimes, bending your mind to a new way helps the answer appear. Lena thought about it, then tried drawing little circles to represent the numbers. Slowly, a light bulb went off in her head. Kai, it worked, she exclaimed, her face brightening. Other students, overhearing their talk, began to listen. Kai shared the story of the oak and the bamboo, and how Master Li taught him that true strength is knowing when to be flexible. He helped them see that this ancient story held wisdom for their own daily struggles, making learning feel less like a battle and more like a dance. From that day forward, Kai carried the wisdom of the oak and the bamboo not just in his mind, but in his heart. He no longer saw challenges as unbreakable walls to be pushed against with all his might. Instead, he saw them as winds, some gentle, some strong, that invited him to find the smartest way to move. He understood that sometimes, the greatest strength was in letting go, in changing his path, and in being open to new ideas. When a difficult task came his way, he would pause and ask himself, am I being like the stubborn oak, or the flexible bamboo? This simple question guided him. He learned that true success wasn't about never failing, but about how he responded when things didn't go as planned. It was about his ability to adapt, to try again in a different way, and to learn from every twist and turn. Kai grew into a wise and respected young man, not just for his skills, but for his calm and clever approach to life's many storms. He knew that the secret to success was not a hidden treasure or a magic spell. It was a quiet strength found within himself. The power to bend without breaking, to flow with change, and to always seek a smarter, more graceful path forward. And so, he faced the future, ready for any challenge, knowing he held the true secret to success in his flexible heart.